Driving into Walmart one day, I noticed a flock of pigeons foraging in the parking lot. Of course, I've seen pigeons there previously on many occasions, but for some reason it got me to thinking, what are pigeons? Why do they hang out with people? Why do people hate them? And are pigeons really all that bad? Let's find out in this week's episode of The Bird Log. Pigeons are one of the most common and abundant birds in cities worldwide. They are any one of several hundred species of birds in the family Columbidae, order Columbiformes. Smaller forms are called doves, and larger forms are called pigeons. Yes, doves are pigeons. The rock pigeon is a large bird, about 12.5 inches long, with a wingspan of 28 inches, and they weigh about 9 ounces. Their plumage is variable, from white to black to everything in between, but the most common is a gray back with 2 black wing bars, a blue-gray head with iridescent throat feathers, and the tail has a dark tip. Rock pigeons are native to Europe, North Africa, and India. They have been closely associated with humans and domesticated and taken around the world and have been raised for food, trained for homing and racing, and used in research and raised as pets. Pigeons are non-migratory, and they are found worldwide as shown on this map. Their conservation status is least concern. Pigeons in all family Columbidae suck water through their beaks to drink, rather than lifting their heads to swallow after each sip, as is done by all other birds. Pigeons mate for life and are monogamous. Their nests are famously flimsy, consisting of a twig or two and a few pieces of straw. The female will lay 1 to 2 white eggs, and this precarious setup will hopefully prevent the eggs from rolling off the edge. The female incubates the eggs by night and the male by day, so there's always a parent bird in the nest to guard the eggs. Incubation period is 14 to 19 days, and nestlings, called squabs, remain in the nest 12 to 18 days after they hatch. Pigeons are altricial, and squabs are cared for in the nest by both the male and the female, who produce crop milk. Squabs will fledge in about 30 days. Pigeons have adapted well to life among humans, and they really like it. They can be found pretty much everywhere, from field to farm to city, foraging on the ground for seeds, grain, fruits, and human food, especially bread, chips, and French fries. Pigeons have served humans well over time, even becoming heroes during World War II. Winky was a carrier pigeon aboard a Royal Air Force bomber that was forced down over the North Sea on February 23, 1942. In an era before GPS, and with no time to send a radio distress signal, Winky was their only hope. RAF bomber crews routinely carried carrier pigeons on board for such emergency occasions. Winky flew 120 miles home, where her owner discovered the exhausted, oil-covered bird. He alerted the airbase, and a search and rescue mission was launched. The crew was rescued, and Winky was awarded the Dickin Medal, quote, for delivering a message under exceptional difficulties and so contributing to the rescue of an air crew while serving with the RAF in February 1942, end of quote. So how does a bird go from hero to hated in such a short period of time? Articles in the New York Times in the late 19th century were very supportive of pigeons, speaking out against the sport of pigeon shooting, just for like clay pigeons, only with the real pigeons. New York Times articles go on to say that by the early 1930s into 1940s, pigeons were being called a nuisance. They were pooping on statues and the sidewalks and buildings, so they were considered a nuisance. By the early 1950s, it was discovered that pigeons can transmit diseases. And by 1963, another article reported, also in the New York Times, that pigeons were considered to be a threat, a hazard, and vermin, and should be exterminated. Is the criticism levied against pigeons warranted? I mean, is the crime that they have committed equal to the disdain in which they are held? Probably not. Are pigeons noisy? Yes. Do pigeons poop on things? Yes. But so do other birds. And other animals do as well. So what gives? It could be that the criticism that pigeons spread disease, that is warranted. Well, Maybe, maybe not. Again, articles in the New York Times indicate that the New York City Health Department and the Center for Disease Control could find no correlation, no direct result of casual interactions with birds causing any kind of disease, not any more than any other animal. As a matter of fact, rodents pose a greater risk to human health. So once again, why are pigeons hated so much? Well, it's probably perception, really, more than anything. In one study, it was seen that the idea of pigeons as pests stems from the idea of our cities, that they need to be clean and orderly, and everything is just so. That trees are growing out of planters, and controlled environments called parks control how nature behaves. Pigeons cross that line of expectations on a regular basis, and they do so visibly. They coo and strut and poop right out in plain sight. Well, so do all birds, and so do all animals. Other nuisance animals and pests, such as rodents and roaches and scorpions and venomous reptiles, these all scurry out of sight. They scamper down into the sewers or under rocks and into darkened areas, so we don't see them. But pigeons, they strut their stuff right out in plain sight. So that could be where some of the disdain and the connection happens. Or not. The study wasn't completely certain. The bad rap assigned to pigeons is softening a little bit as cities are beginning to develop greenways and riparian conservation areas where wildlife and interactions with urban wildlife is actually encouraged. It's going to take a while for the social constraints, the perceptions and misconceptions about pigeons to go away. I mean, pigeons have been called flying rats. They've been called all kinds of things, and it's going to take a long time for that perception to go away. So in the meantime, what do you do if you don't want pigeons in your yard? Well, the first thing, most obvious, is don't feed them. Don't put out any food. Make sure your garbage is put away so that they can't get in to pilfer bread and leftover pizza and whatever else they can find. Don't put out water for them. Make sure that there's no water. There's nothing to tempt them to come into your yard. You can also put up net and screens and spikes and things like that to keep them out of areas where you don't want them. You can discourage them. But please, of all the things you can do to keep the pigeons away, please, please, I implore, don't poison them. Poisoning them is a horrible death. It's painful, and it passes it on down the line. If a vulture or an owl, a hawk, fox, coyote, domestic dog or cat ate one of the poisoned pigeons, they too would die the same horrible death of the poisoned animal. So please, please don't poison them. Find ways to discourage them rather than poisoning them. And if you're worried about disease transfer, of course, wash your hands like you would after interactions with any animal, even your own pets. Wash your hands. That's just a good practice all the way around. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you'll be notified of future videos right here on Birds and More. Until next time, bye for now.